They thought humans were unarmed refugees. The first strike proved them wrong. Part 1: The Arrival. The Ark ship Eternal Dawn drifted through the cold darkness of space like a wounded animal searching for shelter. Its hull was and burned. Its engines flickered with the last sparks of power. Inside, 50,000 human beings held their breath and prayed to gods they no longer believed in. Captain Park stood on the bridge and watched the alien ships surround his vessel. There were 12 of them. Each one was 3 times bigger than the Eternal Dawn. Their weapons glowed with blue energy, ready to fire at any moment. "They are scanning us," said Han, the young communications officer. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly over her console. "They are looking at everything. Our weapons, our shields, our engines." Nodded slowly. "Let them look," he said. "Let them see exactly what we want them to see." Lieutenant stood beside him with her arms crossed. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Before Earth died, she had been one of the most dangerous soldiers in the Korean Space Navy. Now she wore simple civilian clothes and pretended to be nothing more than a security guard. She said quietly, "I read about them in the old files. They have conquered 37 worlds. They keep slaves from every species they defeat." "I know," replied. "They will not help us out of kindness." "I know that too." The main screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It was Commander of the Empire. His head was shaped like an insect, with large black eyes and mandibles that clicked when he spoke. His body was covered in hard shell-like armor that was part of his own skin. He stood 7 feet tall and looked down at the humans with obvious disgust. "Primitive creatures," said. His voice was translated by the ship's computer into flat, emotionless words. "You enter space without permission. Explain yourselves or be destroyed." Captain bowed his head low. He made his voice soft and humble. "Great Commander, we are refugees. Our home world is gone. A black hole came too close to our sun and destroyed everything. We have nowhere else to go. We beg for your mercy." His mandibles clicked with amusement. Behind him, others laughed. The sound was harsh and cruel. "Your scans show your ship has no weapons," said. "Your shields are weak. Your engines are failing. You are helpless." "Yes, Commander, we are helpless. We have only ourselves and our hope for kindness." More laughter from the leaned forward. His black eyes studied carefully. "How many of you are there?" 50,000, Commander. Men, women, children, elderly. We are all that remains of our species." 50,000, repeated. He turned to speak with someone off-screen. When he looked back, there was a cruel smile on his alien face. "The Empire is generous. We will give you a place to live. The moon called 7. You will build your settlement there." Bowed even lower. "Thank you, great Commander. We are forever grateful." "You will provide tribute to the Empire. Food, materials, workers. This is the price of our protection." "Of course, Commander, whatever you require." Ended the transmission without another word. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one on the bridge spoke, then let out a slow breath. "Workers," she said. "He means slaves." "Yes," agreed. 7 is a dead moon. Thin air, no water, constant storms. They are sending us there to suffer." "Yes." Han looked up from her console. Her young face was pale with fear. "Captain, what do we do? We cannot fight them. We have no weapons. We have nothing." Turned to look at her. For just a moment, something hard and cold flashed in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual calm expression. He said gently, "Go to deck 7. Tell Doctor that I need to speak with him. Use the private channel." She nodded and hurried away. Waited until they were alone. "The crew is scared," she said. "The civilians are worse. Everyone thinks we are doomed." "Good," replied. "Fear makes people careful. Careful people do not make mistakes. And when they discover that we are not as helpless as we appear." Smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Then they will learn what they are about to learn. The most dangerous creature in the universe is not the one with the biggest claws. It is the one that looks weak but is not. The door opened and an old man walked in. Doctor was 73 years old. His hair was white, his back was bent, and he walked with a cane. But his mind was sharper than anyone half his age. He had designed the eternal dawn from the first bolt to the last wire. "You called for me, Captain." Nodded, scanned us. What did they find? The old man smiled. It was the smile of a fox who had just tricked a wolf. They found exactly what I designed them to find. An old ship with no weapons, weak shields, and dying engines. They found 50,000 helpless refugees with nothing but the clothes on their backs. And what did they miss? Everything else. Limped to a console and pressed several buttons. A hidden panel slid open in the wall, revealing a second screen. On it was a list of items that made eyes go wide. Project, 500 sets of combat armor. Hellfire Protocol, 12 miniaturized fusion cannons. Ghost Network, untraceable communication system. The Sleepers, 500 elite soldiers in cryogenic suspension. Hal whispered, "How did you hide all of this?" Chuckled, "They are arrogant. They believe their technology is the best in the galaxy. They scan for weapons they know. They looked for shields they understand. They never imagined that a primitive species could build things they have never seen before." Closed the hidden panel. His face was serious again. "No one speaks of this. Not to family, not to friends, not to anyone. As far as the universe knows, we are exactly what they think we are. Weak, helpless, harmless." "For how long?" asked. "Until the right moment." "And when will that be?" Looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was gone. His home, his family, everything he had ever known had been swallowed by darkness. But humanity survived. 50,000 souls, frightened and desperate, but alive. He would keep them alive, no matter what it cost. "The right moment," he said quietly, "will come when they least expect it, when they are certain we are broken, when they believe we have nothing left. That is when we will show them the truth." "What truth?" Turned to face his officers. His eyes were hard as stone. "That humans are never unarmed. Even when we have lost everything, we still have our will to survive, our refusal to surrender, our capacity for patience, and most importantly, our ability to strike when our enemies think they have already won." The Eternal Dawn began its descent towards 7. In the command ship, Commander was already planning how to use his new slaves. In 3 months, he would take their strongest for the mines. In 6 months, he would eliminate the weak and useless ones. In a year, these pathetic creatures would be completely under his control. He never considered that the refugees might have plans of their own. He never imagined that the weak little mammals could be dangerous. That was his first mistake. It would not be his last. They thought humans were unarmed refugees. The first strike proved them wrong. Part 2, The Settlement. 7 was worse than anyone had imagined. The air was thin and cold. The wind never stopped blowing. Dust storms came without warning and lasted for days. The ground was hard rock with almost no soil for growing food. They had chosen this place carefully. They wanted the humans to suffer. But humans had survived ice ages. They had survived plagues. They had survived wars that killed millions. A harsh moon was nothing compared to what their ancestors had endured. Within 2 weeks, the settlement began to take shape. From above, it looked like a desperate camp of refugees struggling to survive. The buildings were simple and crude. The walls were thin. The people moved slowly, heads down, shoulders bent with exhaustion. This was exactly what Captain wanted them to see. Underground, the truth was different. Sergeant stood in a large cavern that the surface scans could not detect. Around him, 300 civilians practiced combat moves. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. None of them had ever held a weapon before leaving Earth. Now they moved with growing skill, their bodies learning to fight. Faster called out, "When the moment comes, you will have seconds to act. Seconds can mean life or death." A man in his 40s stumbled and fell. He was a baker named. His hands were made for kneading dough, not throwing punches. Walked over and helped him up. "Again," he said, not unkindly. "I am too old for this," said, breathing hard. "You are alive. That means you are not too old." Looked at all of them. They think we are soft. They think we are weak. Every time they look at us, they see prey. We will use that. We will let them believe their lies, and when the time comes, we will show them the truth. In another chamber, Doctor worked with a team of engineers. They had taken apart the agricultural equipment and the medical supplies. Now they were building something else. Fusion cannons, pulse rifles, grenades. Every piece had been designed to look harmless when assembled in a different way. "The beauty of human engineering," said to his young assistant, a woman named Lee. "We learned long ago to hide our weapons inside everyday objects. Swords hidden in walking sticks, guns hidden in umbrellas. Now we hide cannons inside farming machines." Carefully connected two wires, a small light glowed green. "Doctor, how did you know we would need all this? The black hole came so suddenly. How did you have time to prepare?" Was quiet for a moment. His old eyes looked sad. "We did not prepare for the black hole," he said softly. "We prepared for something else. For years, Earth's governments knew that aliens existed. They knew that some of those aliens were hostile. They built these weapons in secret, hoping they would never be needed. But the black hole came instead. Yes, we prepared for war and got a natural disaster. But the preparations were not wasted. The same weapons that would have defended Earth will now defend humanity's survivors." On the surface, Elder walked through the settlement with a kind smile on her face. She stopped to talk with families. She held crying children. She comforted the old and the sick. To everyone who watched, she was just a gentle grandmother trying to keep hope alive. But had once been a diplomat. She had negotiated with hostile nations. She had ended wars with her words. Now she used those same skills to keep 50,000 people calm and focused. "We must be patient," she told a group of worried mothers. "We must show that we are grateful and obedient. Every day we survive is a victory." What she did not say was that every day was also preparation. Every meal the humans ate made them stronger. Every hour of secret training made them more dangerous. Every piece of hidden equipment brought them closer to the moment when they would fight back. 3 months passed. Commander arrived for his first inspection. His shuttle landed in the center of the settlement with a roar of engines and a cloud of dust. 20 soldiers marched out, their weapons raised, their armor gleaming. The humans gathered in the central plaza. They stood with their heads bowed and their hands empty. Children hid behind their parents. Old people trembled. Walked among them like a king examining his property. He was pleased by what he saw. The humans looked thin and tired. Their clothes were worn. Their eyes were dull with defeat. "You have survived," said. "Good. Survivors make useful workers." Captain stepped forward and bowed deeply. "We are grateful for your mercy, Commander. We have prepared a small offering of food for you and your soldiers." Clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Food? Your food is disgusting to us. We do not eat what mammals eat." He turned to his soldiers. "Search the settlement. Look for anything hidden." The soldiers spread out. They kicked open doors. They threw belongings onto the ground. They pushed humans aside like they were nothing. Lieutenant watched from the edge of the plaza. Her fists were clenched so tight that her nails cut into her palms. Every instinct screamed at her to fight, but she stayed still. She waited. A young soldier walked through the crowd. He was smaller than the others, probably new to his rank. He seemed to enjoy pushing the humans around. When he came to a teenage girl named, he shoved her hard. Fell to the ground. Her knee hit a sharp rock and blood began to flow. "Walk faster, animal," the soldier said. Sergeant was nearby. He took one step forward before catching himself. His whole body shook with the effort of staying still. Appeared beside him, she put a hand on his arm. "Not yet," she whispered. "Soon, but not yet." Forced himself to breathe. He watched as Mother helped her up. He watched the blood drip onto the dusty ground. He memorized the face of the soldier who had hurt her. The search found nothing. The hidden chambers were too deep. The weapons were too well disguised. The saw only what they expected to see. Gathered his soldiers to leave. But first he had an announcement. "The Empire requires tribute," he said. "You will give us half of your food production. You will also give us your strongest workers for the mining colonies, 50 of them, every month." A murmur of fear ran through the crowd. Elder stepped forward. "Commander, if we give away our strongest workers, we will not be able to grow enough food. We will starve." Looked at her like she was an insect. "Then you will work harder, or you will die. It makes no difference to me." He turned and walked back to his shuttle. His soldiers followed, laughing among themselves about the pathetic humans. When the shuttle was gone, the settlement was silent. People looked at each other with fear and despair. But in the eyes of some there was something else, something hard and cold. That night, Captain called a secret meeting in the deepest chamber. Only the leadership council was present, and a few others. "We cannot wait any longer," said. His voice was tight with anger. "They will take our people. They will work them to death in their mines." "I know," said. "Then we must act." "We will," looked at each of them. "Specialist Han has been intercepting their communications. We now know their full plan." He told them everything. The executions planned for the elderly and children, the experiments they wanted to perform on human bodies, the complete enslavement that awaited them all. When he finished, no one spoke for a long moment. Then Elder, the gentle grandmother, said something that surprised everyone. "How soon can we be ready to kill them all?" Smiled. It was a cold smile, full of promise. "1 more week," he said. "1 more week and we show them what humanity really is." They thought humans were unarmed refugees. The first strike proved them wrong. Part 3: The Awakening. Deep beneath the surface of 7, in chambers that no scanner had ever detected, something was waking up. Captain stood before a long row of glass pods. Inside each pod was a human being, frozen in dreamless sleep. Frost covered the glass. Cold mist drifted across the floor. The only sound was the soft hum of machines keeping these sleepers alive. 500 pods, 500 soldiers, the best warriors humanity had ever produced. Doctor checked his instruments one final time. "The revival process will take 6 hours," he said. "Their bodies have been frozen for over a year. They will need time to recover." "Will they be ready to fight?" asked. "These are the soldiers who held the line during Earth's last days. They fought to give the Ark ships time to escape. They were willing to die so that others could live," smiled proudly. "They will be ready." Nodded. "Begin the revival." Pressed a sequence of buttons. The pods began to glow with soft blue light. Inside, the frozen bodies slowly started to warm. While the soldiers slept their last hours of cold sleep, walked through the hidden chambers with Lieutenant. He wanted to see everything one final time before the battle began. In one chamber, engineers assembled the last of the fusion cannons. The weapons were beautiful in a deadly way. Each one could destroy a shuttle with a single shot. In another chamber, rows of black armor hung on metal frames. Project. The armor was made of millions of tiny machines called. When a soldier put on the armor, the bonded with their body. They made the soldier faster, stronger, and harder to kill. "I never thought I would see these used," said quietly. "I trained with them once years ago. They were a secret program. Only the highest ranks knew they existed. Now every one of our soldiers will wear them," said. "They have never seen anything like this. They do not know what is coming." In the deepest chamber, Han sat before a wall of screens. This was the Ghost Network, a communication system that used frequencies that could not detect. Through this system, every human in the settlement could receive orders instantly. "Everything is ready," Captain said. "When you give the signal, every fighter will know exactly what to do." Good looked at the screens. They showed views of the settlement above, of the ships in orbit, of the alien soldiers patrolling the area. "How many enemies are we facing?" 200 soldiers on the surface, 50 more on the orbital station, 3 warships in orbit but only one is fully armed. The others are transport vessels. Weaknesses. Their communications rely on a single relay on the orbital station. If we destroy it, they cannot call for help. Their armor is strong against energy weapons but weak against physical attacks, and they are overconfident. They believe we are completely helpless. Smiled. Their overconfidence is our greatest weapon. 6 hours later, the pods opened. The first soldier to step out was a man in his 30s. He was not tall, but he moved with the grace of a predator. His eyes scanned the room instantly, checking for threats. Even half frozen, his instincts were sharp. This was Major O, the Ghost of Mars. During Earth's final battle, had led a team of 50 soldiers against a fleet of enemy ships. They had no backup, no escape route, no hope of survival. They fought anyway. They held a critical position for 18 hours, buying time for thousands of civilians to evacuate. When rescue finally came, only and 3 others were still alive. Major said, stepping forward, "Welcome back." Blinked slowly, his mind catching up with his body. "Captain, I remember you. You were on the command council." "I was. Now I command the Eternal Dawn and our settlement on this moon." Settlement? Looked around, his eyes taking in the hidden chamber, the weapons, the other pods opening around him. "We survived. 50,000 of us, the last of humanity." Was quiet for a moment, then he straightened his back and saluted. "What are your orders, Captain?" Returned the salute. "We are slaves of an alien empire called the... They plan to work us to death in their minds. They plan to kill our children and elderly. They plan to experiment on our bodies." "I see." His voice was calm, but his eyes had turned cold. "And what do we do about that?" "We kill them, all of them, every on this moon and in orbit." Nodded slowly. "When?" "Tomorrow morning. They are coming to collect tribute, workers for their mines." "They will find something different." "Yes, they will." More soldiers emerged from their pods. Captain No, the explosives expert who had once destroyed an enemy space station alone. Specialist, the sniper who never missed. Hundreds of others, each one a legend in their own right. They gathered in the main chamber, 500 soldiers standing at attention. They were weak from their long sleep, their muscles stiff, their bodies slow, but their spirits were unbroken. Addressed them. "You went asleep expecting to die. You were prepared to sacrifice everything so that others could escape. Because of your courage, 50,000 humans survived. We built a new home here on this harsh moon. We grew food. We raised children. We kept the flame of humanity alive." He paused, looking at their faces. "But now that flame is threatened. They see us as slaves. They see us as animals. They think we are weak because we do not have claws or fangs or armored skin. They are wrong." His voice grew stronger. "Tomorrow we show them what humans truly are. We are not weak. We are patient. We are not helpless. We are waiting. We are not prey. We are the most dangerous predators in the universe." He raised his fist. "Tomorrow we remind the galaxy why humanity survived when so many others fell. Tomorrow we teach the lesson they will never forget. Tomorrow we fight." 500 voices roared as one. That night the final preparations were made. Weapons were distributed. Armor was fitted. Battle plans were reviewed again and again until everyone knew their role perfectly. In the civilian shelters, parents kissed their children good night. Husbands held their wives. Old friends shared quiet words that might be their last. Sergeant found Young sitting alone, looking at a small photograph. It showed her family on Earth before the disaster. Her mother and father, her little brother, all smiling in front of their home. "They did not make it to the Ark," she said quietly. "I was at school when the evacuation started. My teacher put me on a shuttle. I never saw them again." Sat beside her. "I lost my family too, my wife, my son. He was only 4 years old." "Does it get easier?" "No, but you learn to carry the weight." He put a hand on her shoulder. "Tomorrow, we fight for them, for everyone we lost. We fight so that their deaths meant something. We fight so that no other child has to lose their family to these monsters." Looked at him with tears in her eyes. Then she nodded firmly. "I want to help," she said. "Tell me what to do." "Stay in the shelter. Help the other children. Keep them calm. Keep them safe. That is the most important job of all." Straightened her back. "I will, I promise." As dawn approached, Captain stood at the entrance to the underground chambers. Behind him, 500 elite soldiers in black armor waited in perfect silence. Above him, 5,000 armed civilians prepared for battle. Everywhere he looked, he saw determination. Captain said, joining him, "They are on their way. Commander himself is leading the collection team." Smiled coldly. "Good, I want him to see this personally." "See what?" "The moment his entire world changes. The moment he realizes that the prey has become the predator." The sun rose over 7. It was going to be a beautiful day. A day they would never forget. They thought humans were unarmed refugees. The first strike proved them wrong. Part 4: The First Strike. The shuttles descended through the thin atmosphere of 7 like birds of prey. Commander stood at the front of the lead shuttle, watching the human settlement grow larger through the viewport. He was in a good mood. Today he would take 50 humans for the mines. Strong ones, healthy ones. They would work until they died, and then he would take more. Behind him, 200 soldiers checked their weapons and laughed among themselves. This was easy duty. The humans were weak and frightened. They had no weapons, no armor, no hope. This would be simple. "Commander," one of his officers said, "the humans are gathering in the central plaza. They appear to be waiting for us." "Good, they learn quickly," clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. "Perhaps these mammals are not as stupid as they look." The shuttles landed with a roar of engines. Dust flew everywhere. The soldiers marched out in perfect formation, their armor gleaming, their weapons humming with deadly energy. In the plaza, the humans waited, thousands of them standing in neat rows with their heads bowed. Men, women, children, elderly. They looked exactly as expected, thin, tired, broken. Captain stood at the front of the crowd. He bowed low as approached. "Great Commander," he said in that humble voice had grown to enjoy. "We have prepared the workers you requested, 50 of our strongest as ordered." Looked at the 50 humans standing apart from the others. They were indeed the largest and healthiest. They would survive the mines for at least a few months. "Acceptable," said, "chain them." His soldiers moved forward with energy restraints. The 50 humans did not resist. They stood quietly, letting themselves be bound. Was pleased. This was how conquered species should behave. Silent, obedient, accepting of their fate. "Now," said, "my soldiers will search your settlement for any hidden supplies. You have been eating better than your rations allow. Someone is stealing from the Empire." Bowed again. "Of course, Commander, we have nothing to hide." Waved his hand, and 100 of his soldiers spread out to begin the search. The other 100 remained in the plaza, weapons ready, watching the humans with contempt. This was the moment. Straightened slowly. When he looked up, his eyes were different. The fear was gone. The submission was gone. In its place was something cold and hard and infinitely dangerous. "Commander," he said, his voice was no longer humble, it was sharp as a blade. "I have something to show you." before could respond, raised his hand. And the world exploded. The ground erupted in a dozen places. Hidden hatches flew open, revealing weapon emplacements that had been buried for months. Fusion cannons roared to life, their blue beams cutting through armor like it was paper. The 50 chained humans moved as one. The energy restraints fell away. They had never been real. Hidden in their clothes were weapons, small but deadly. They opened fire on the guards around them. From the underground chambers, 500 soldiers in black armor burst onto the surface. They moved faster than any human should move, the armor enhancing their speed and strength. They hit the formation like a hammer hitting glass. Major O led the charge. He did not shoot. He did not need to. He moved through the soldiers like a ghost, his armored hands striking weak points in their shells. Every blow was precise. Every strike was fatal. In the buildings around the plaza, windows shattered. Snipers appeared, their rifles already tracking targets. Specialists fired shot after shot, each one finding an eye, a joint, a gap in armor. He did not miss. He never missed. The 100 soldiers who had gone to search the settlement ran into traps, hidden pits, tripwires connected to explosives, civilians with weapons appearing from secret passages. Captain No had spent weeks preparing these surprises. She watched from a rooftop as fell into her traps one after another. In the plaza, chaos reigned. Screamed orders, but no one was listening. His soldiers were dying too fast. The humans were everywhere, fighting with a fury they had never imagined. A species they had dismissed as prey was tearing them apart. Retreat, screamed. Back to the shuttles, back to. A figure in black armor appeared in front of him. Major. Going somewhere, Commander. Raised his weapon but was faster. He grabbed the gun and crushed it in his armored hand. Then he struck across the face, sending the stumbling backward. You thought we were helpless, said, advancing slowly. You thought we were weak. You saw soft skin and small bodies and believed that meant we were prey. Tried to run, caught him easily and threw him to the ground. Humans are not prey, we are survivors. We survived ice and fire. We survived plague and war. We survived the death of our own world, stood over the fallen commander. Did you really think we would let insects like you destroy us? Looked up with hatred in his black eyes. The Empire will avenge us. Millions of soldiers will come. They will burn your settlement to ashes. They will try, turned to look at the battle. It was nearly over. They were either dead or surrendering. But first they will have to know what happened here. He grabbed by the neck and dragged him toward the communications center. Across the settlement, the fighting ended with surprising speed. The humans had trained for months. They knew every inch of their home. They had planned for every possibility. They never had a chance. Lieutenant led a team to secure the shuttles. The pilots surrendered without a fight. They had seen what happened to their comrades and had no desire to die. Sergeant moved through the plaza, checking on the civilians. Many were wounded but alive. The training had paid off. They had fought and survived. He found the baker sitting against a wall. There was blood on his hands and a dazed look in his eyes. You did well, told him. I killed one of them, said quietly. I have never killed anything before. I made bread. That was all I did, make bread. Knelt beside him. Today you protected your people. That is something to be proud of. High above, the orbital station still floated in space. This was the next target. Captain No and 50 soldiers boarded the captured shuttles. They wore armor over their own, taken from the dead. The disguise would not fool anyone for long, but they only needed a few minutes. Orbital station, this is Collection Team Alpha, transmitted, imitating speech patterns. Returning with cargo, open docking bay. There was a pause, then, acknowledged, docking bay 3 is open. Smiled, thank you so much, she said in her own voice. We really appreciate it. The shuttle entered the station. When the doors opened, 50 human soldiers in armor poured out. The station fell in 47 minutes. Not a single human was killed. 23 surrendered. The rest chose to fight and died quickly. Back on the surface, Captain surveyed the battlefield. The sun was still rising. The entire operation had taken less than 3 hours. Casualties, he asked. 23 wounded, reported, none dead. Closed his eyes and let out a long breath. He had planned for losses. He had prepared himself to lose friends, soldiers, civilians. Instead, they had achieved something close to a miracle. The orbital station. Captured, Captain has secured the communication relay and the weapon systems. Good opened his eyes. Then it is time to send our message. He walked toward the communication center where Commander waited, defeated and humiliated. The warlord who had thought humans were nothing but slaves. Now he would watch as those slaves announced themselves to the galaxy. The first strike was complete. The war had just begun. They thought humans were unarmed refugees. The first strike proved them wrong. Part 5. The message. The communication center of the orbital station hummed with power. Banks of screens showed views of space, of the planet below, of the distant stars that held the Empire and beyond. Every frequency was open. Every channel was ready. Captain stood before the main camera. Behind him, Lieutenant and Major waited in their armor. On the floor, Commander knelt in chains, his once-proud posture broken. Captain, Han said from her console, we are ready to broadcast. This signal will reach every corner of space. Their colonies, their military bases. Everyone will see this. And the slave worlds. Them too. Every species under rule will receive this message. Nodded slowly. He had thought about this moment for months, what to say, how to say it. He had written speeches and thrown them away. In the end, he decided to speak from his heart. Begin transmission. A red light appeared on the camera. Across the galaxy, screens flickered and changed. In command centers, officers shouted in confusion. In mining colonies, slaves looked up from their work. In hidden rebel bases, fighters gathered around old screens with hope in their eyes. Began to speak. My name is Park. I am a human being from a world called Earth that no longer exists. 3 months ago, my people came to space as refugees. We were tired. We were hungry. We were desperate. We had lost our home, our planet, everything we had ever known. He paused, his eyes steady on the camera. The Empire welcomed us with promises of shelter and safety. They gave us a barren moon and called it generosity. They demanded tribute and called it protection. They planned to take our children for experiments and our adults for slavery. They looked at us and saw only weakness. Behind him, dragged to his feet and held him before the camera. The defeated commander's face was a mask of humiliation and rage. This is Commander. 3 hours ago, he came to our settlement with 200 soldiers. He came to take our people as slaves. He was confident. He was cruel. He believed we would kneel and accept our fate. Stepped closer to the camera. He was wrong. He gestured, and the screen behind him changed. It showed images of the battle. Humans in black armor cutting through formations. Civilians fighting with weapons they had hidden for months. The moment the fusion cannons first fired. The moment the soldiers began to run. In 3 hours, we destroyed every force on our moon. We captured the orbital station above us. We suffered no deaths. Commander and 47 of his soldiers are now our prisoners. The rest are dead. The images changed again, showing the human settlement. Lights glowing in the darkness. Children playing in the streets. People working, building, living. We are not victims. We are not slaves. We are humanity, and humanity does not surrender. Turned to face directly. Those black eyes were filled with hatred, but also something else. Fear. They believed their own lies. They believed that strength comes from size, from claws, from armored skin. They believed that species without these things must be weak. They were wrong. He turned back to the camera. Strength comes from will, from patience, from the refusal to give up even when all hope seems lost. Humans have survived ice ages that froze our world. We have survived plagues that killed millions. We have survived wars that burned cities to ash. We survived the death of our own planet. His voice grew stronger. We survived because we adapt, we learn, we grow. We turn our weaknesses into strengths and our enemies' strengths into weaknesses. Every species that has tried to destroy us has failed. There will be no different. He looked directly into the camera, as if speaking to each viewer personally. To the Empire, you have made an enemy you do not understand. We are not like the other species you have conquered. We will not be enslaved. We will not be broken. If you come for us, we will fight. If you kill us, others will rise to take our place. Humanity is not a species. Humanity is an idea, and ideas cannot be killed. He paused, then continued in a softer voice. To every species suffering under rule, you are not alone. Today, 50,000 humans prove that the Empire can be defeated. We were refugees with nothing but our lives and our determination. If we can win, so can you. Rise up, fight back, join us. He straightened his back and raised his chin. We call this moon New Sol now. It is our home. It is the first free territory in space, and it will not be the last. To anyone who hears this message, human or not, know this: the age of empires is ending. The age of freedom is beginning, and it starts here. It starts now. It starts with us. The red light on the camera went dark. The transmission ended. For a long moment, no one spoke, then stepped forward. Captain, we are receiving messages, hundreds of them, thousands, from all across space. She brought them up on the screens. Voices in a dozen different languages from a dozen different species. Some were confused, some were angry, but many, so many, were filled with hope. A message from a mining colony. We saw your broadcast. We are ready to fight. Tell us what to do. A message from a rebel group. We have been hiding for years. You have given us courage. We stand with you. A message from a slave ship. The guards are watching us differently now. They are afraid. Thank you. Read the messages with tears in his eyes. He had hoped for some response, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. What do we do now, Captain? Asked. We prepare. The Empire will not ignore this. They will send their fleets. They will try to crush us. Can we win? Looked at the messages still flooding in. Species he had never heard of, planets he had never seen, all reaching out, all hopping. Alone? No, but we are not alone anymore. On the surface of New Sol, the people gathered to celebrate. They had won their first battle. They had announced themselves to the galaxy. They had gone from helpless refugees to a force that the mightiest empire in known space now feared. Elder stood before the crowd and spoke. When we left Earth, we thought we had lost everything. Our home, our history, our future. We came to this moon expecting to die slowly, worked to death by cruel masters. Instead, we found something we had lost. We found hope. She smiled, and there were tears on her old face. Today, we have a new home. Today, we have a new purpose. We are no longer refugees running from destruction. We are the beginning of something new. We are the spark that will light a fire across the galaxy. The crowd cheered. Parents lifted their children onto their shoulders. Old people wept with joy. Young people hugged each other and laughed. In the crowd stood with the other teenagers. She had done her job during the battle, keeping the younger children calm in the shelters. Now she looked up at the stars with wonder in her eyes. Sergeant found her there. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I am thinking about my parents, my brother. They did not live to see this day, but somehow I feel like they know. I feel like they are proud." They would be, put a hand on her shoulder, they would be very proud. Captain stood apart from the celebrations, watching his people. Lieutenant joined him. "The Empire will come," she said. "Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers." "Yes. We cannot defeat them alone." No, but we have awakened something today. Across the galaxy, slaves are looking at their chains and thinking about breaking them. Rebels are coming out of hiding. Conquered species are remembering what freedom felt like. He turned to look at her. They built their empire on fear. Today, we showed that they can be beaten. Fear is a powerful weapon, but hope is stronger. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the fleet was already preparing to launch. The war would be long and hard. Many would die. But for the first time since Earth fell, humanity had a future worth fighting for. They thought we were unarmed refugees, he said quietly. They thought we were helpless prey. He smiled. They will never make that mistake again. The sun set over New Seoul. In the darkness, lights came on throughout the settlement. 50,000 humans, the last survivors of a dead world, looked up at the stars without fear. Tomorrow, the real war would begin. But tonight, they celebrated. Tonight, they were free. And tomorrow, they would remind the galaxy why humanity had survived when so many others had fallen. Because humans are never truly unarmed. Because humans never give up. Because humanity endures. Always.